welcome. This is the Americans. They're up here from Southern California.
Hi, I'm Jake.
My name's Patrick Ferris.
My name's Tim Carr.
I'm Zach Sokolow.
They came to Prairie Sun, according to my notes here, originally in 2010.
We were mixing our first EP. We recorded in a barn, not actually that different from what this building originally was.
Exactly.
About 20 minutes from here. So we did the whole thing ourselves, and then when we heard it, we were happy with it enough that we wanted to actually make it sound right. So we came here and Oz mixed it.
And we actually used these echo chambers to reamp the sounds, but I think we should talk a little bit about the barn over in Sonoma, where, as I understand, you guys recorded this on an 8-track tape machine?
That's right. Yeah, it was Zach's 8-track.
It was your 8-track machine?
Yeah, Tascam 38.
Tascam 38, right? And I remember all these interesting lo-fi microphone concepts, right? Jake's a big part of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, when considering our engineering, we like to use a lot of room mics and a lot of more open tones, catching the sound of the room, which is one reason which brought us to Prairie Sun actually. And Matt Wright has done an extraordinary job actually capturing the sound of the studio.
So we came in with Oz Fritz and he mixed it with you guys.
That was our first EP.
It's your first EP and it's called The Americans, right?
The Americans EP.
What is it like to work at Prairie Sun? What rooms do you like? What is the vibe here?
What I like about it here is that it has everything that someone would need from a recording studio, at least if they're in our shoes, where they really like the way things sound and the way things can sound naturally in a room. All the greatest equipment you can want. Everything, especially if you're interested in analog recording, but even if you're not, it's just a great place to be, but without any of the sort of the things about a studio that might take you away from that. You know what I mean? It's a lot more comfortable, but it doesn't feel that different from the barn where we first made our EP, and that's why I like coming here.
Also, the quality of the frequencies that respond, that come back are really lovely. The highs are really clear. The mids aren't overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It's a great type of room. We were talking about trying to record something like
all together.
Yeah.
Right.
So tell me about the microphones. Is there any particular microphones that you like that we're using?
It's really hard to tell because Matt's just really good with making things sound the way they should. So it's honestly, I don't know. There hasn't been a mic where he unveils it and it sounds amazing, because actually there hasn't been anything we've done so far where it hasn't sounded like what we want it to sound like. It hasn't taken very much time to get it there. So
the M49, that Neumann. I'd heard about it from before I even came here. It's the one that Tom Waits used on Meal Rations for Greg Cohen and all those guys.
Yes, sir.
And so getting to record my upright on that has been really exciting. And then hearing how it sounds.
Is that big one?
It's the big one.
It's the big fatty. Yeah.
So that's been really cool.
Let's talk about Matt Wright. Matt came to Prairie Sun about 10 years ago. In fact, October will be his anniversary. And he came in as an intern, and from there he went under to Oz Fritz and trained under him for many years. He actually had his degree from Berkeley in film, and I don't know why he went into this business, but if you could give me some feelings about why I think Matt Wright is the ultimate consummate professional in the studio.
We walked in and set up our gear, and we had sent him a couple of recordings ahead of time to kind of give him an idea of the tones and worlds we wanted to be in. And we've had a lot of troubles and trials with engineers in the past, trying to get them to understand the unusual tones and ways we like to have things mic'd and amped. And without saying a word, he threw the mics up where we had always said we wanted them. There was no conversation of like, we'd rather have this at this distance, at this height. It was already there.
There's something about guitar amps. It's probably just the same as old versus new. There's a kind of a world of difference, I think, in the way they sound, and the way people used to like guitars to sound in old recordings is different than the way they like them today. Recordings today are so complicated, can be so complicated, and have so many options. Sometimes an electric guitar isn't the main attraction anymore. Well, usually it's not, I guess. And I guess that when you put a guitar in a room, there's just that sound. The first time I ever played through a tube amp, there's just that sound where it's ringing up on so many levels. You're hearing so many different harmonics and everything, and that put together is what you want to hear. And it's just, for some reason, it can be really hard to get that in a recording studio. under the restrictions of mixing and trying to make it fit and all that. And so, yeah, that was a really pleasant surprise with Matt, was that I don't think we've ever really had that experience where we set up our amps, we get the tones we like in the room, and we go around and listen to them, and it's like the same thing.
It's the same sound.
Yeah, it's the tone we
Yeah.
liked all along coming out of the speakers.
Matt is very intuitive. Would you agree that's a great word for it? He feels it. He's a real musician, and he's very musical. And we're very, very proud of Matt. And I think good things are going to happen to him in his career as well as you guys. I want to hear a little bit about this upcoming project that you were asked to come over by Jack White and T-Bone Burnett, and through a friend. We want to hear a certain style of music for this. And tell us about the project and your tour, please. Go ahead.
Well, it's been a while now. I think a couple years back, a record collector friend of ours down in LA, by which I mean 78 collector, 20s and 30s records, he recommended us for this project that was, it's an archival film, a documentary all about the 1920s and 30s first commercial field recordings, meaning the first time commercial record labels, mainstream record labels, set out to record what could be considered sometimes amateur musicians in rural areas, in the countryside, maybe professionals who were making styles of music that had not yet been popularized. There was no market for them yet, although they were to discover there was an enormous market. And that's what the premise of the film is. We were involved because there is an addendum to the film that is just modern musicians recording on the same gear as these first field recordings, as used in these first field recordings. So we were among the first people to cut on this old gear since I don't know, who knows, 1933 maybe. 1935.
Oh, so the gear was in the studio.
They brought it in, and restored it, and they got it up. The only difference is that they were cutting to vinyl discs as opposed to wax. But aside from that, it was a completely.
And so they brought the Americans in because they had heard.
Oh well, just they've been.
They come and see you, right?
Yeah, they're looking for bands that were interested in old what they even back then called old time music, 20s and 30s music, but maybe played a more contemporary style. Sort of had a foot in both worlds, I guess.
Okay.
And so yeah, the filmmaker came and saw us at a venue because our friend in common, the record collector, sort of mentioned us, and then and so we recorded for that. And we played a song of our own, and we also backed up a bunch of the other musicians just when where we were needed, and helped pick some songs for them, and then I got involved helping with research on the archival portion of the film, trying to find old photos.
So you became an archivist.
Yeah. Research.
New handle.
So using a history major.
Cool. And so what is the name of the film going to be called?
It's called American Epic.
American Epic. Okay.
And it comes out in January.
And it's produced by.
It's produced by executive produced by Robert Redford and T-Bone Burnett and Jack White.
Okay. And would it be on NPR or is it on their own?
It's going to be on PBS. It's going to be on primetime on PBS.
Primetime PBS.
And the portion with the musicians will also be on BBC. So that's airing in both places.
On what?
BBC.
On BBC.
In the UK.
On BBC, is it going to be a record or a vinyl? Is Jack going to release it or?
That's still all in the plans, but there'll likely be a soundtrack.
Now, in conjunction, you guys are going to be on tour right when this thing is hitting. Is that correct?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's still in the making, but yeah, we're going to be crossing the country in January, supporting the new record.